What is the best way of establishing the gradient on parts of a segment? That's another one from Roger.
Okay, this is one of my favorite bits because all the stuff which I've done with for that Eurosport have then picked up on, and I was remarkably stoked to see that Orica Greenedge were showing off my profiles on Backstage Pass.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't mention the brand. Come on, just say Veloviewer, go on, show a logo. I was like, oh, never mind, missed opportunity there. But yeah, so trying to get the best gradients, because even like the pro riders don't know it from the road books. So you want to know what they are. So I spend a lot of time trying to work this kind of stuff out. So what I do is I'll go and find a segment. So I will go for one which I know is a little bit dodgy, a little bit ropey. Which one is it now? It's that one there. So this one is the Col de la Jouvert, which is in Morzine. And sometimes you see them and they're like that. And it's like, whoa, that's absolutely appalling. Why is it like that? And you look at the elevation, it's absolutely all over the place. So, and sometimes these are the only segments that there are. So if I go over to that segment, this is what I do for to solve these, to get nice smooth segments with realistic data, and it's something which only I can do really at the moment. Although I'm trying to think for a way that I can open it up for other people to do. Is I'll find someone who has ridden it, and I'll look down, and usually go for people with power meters because they're most likely to be using a good GPS device. Edge 500, perfect. So even though the segment itself had really bad data on it, hopefully this guy has ridden up it and it's got a nice smooth gradient on it. So I have a cheeky little bit of code now that all it does, it uses the Strava API still, but it'll overwrite that segment's data in Veloviewer, so that it's now overwritten the data with that good data from that particular effort. So I want to try and automate that. So now we've got a nice profile here.
Wow.
So trying to find that good data, that's the key thing to begin with. You want to make sure that you're looking at proper data and not the data that was used to if someone was using an iPhone, they created the segment having recorded on an iPhone.
Yeah.
So now in terms of what the actual gradients are, is it does kind of come down to how long your stick is in terms of what you're measuring. So we'll stick the gradients on here, and fair enough, that is accurate over those distances. That is what the average grades are. Some people love to see it in the traditional by kilometer way. So there's this simplify thing here. If you drag it all the way to the right, it then does it in kilometer bits. So they're all 1 kilometer long, and it's showing what all the percentages are. You can hover your mouse over any of these as well, and it will tell you what percentages are. So even if they've not got those up, it will always show you that. But if you pull this down, it then starts getting more, or it starts getting less simplified. And then if you go all the way to the bottom here, it's even more detailed. So you're getting much finer grain of information. So when I'm creating these things, I try and look for the sweet spot of where you're not losing the fact that there's an 11% bit in there, or maybe you say it's got a maximum of 11%, but maybe that's too detailed. So then you have one like that. So basically, you can you use that simplify slider to work that out. And those gradients also work in the here in the 3D view. And if you hover the mouse over these, it still shows you what the gradients are for each little portion that you're moving your mouse over. So sometimes you can see a little bit more detail within there. So it's saying it's 11.6% for 4 meters. So what I do is I do smooth the data slightly. So if there are any really short little ramps, they might be smoothed out slightly. So there might be some bits which are a little bit steeper, particularly around inside. It's kind of to get rid of insider corners and other things like that, or just bad data. So it's never a science, and it's never perfect unless you're there with the actually on the road itself. But it gives you a good idea to be able to see what you got in store.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I'm going to have to watch the recording of this webinar again later, because I've been trying to take notes as you've been talking, but there's just been so much amazing information that you've been sharing that it's hard to keep up with it all. And just to let everybody know that we are recording it, and it will hopefully, as long as that goes smoothly, we will be making it available on YouTube as well. So I know a lot of people emailed me to say that, you know, it clashed with some other thing. So hopefully people will be able to catch up with it later as well. But thank you so much, Ben, for taking the time and sharing all your insights with us this evening. It's been absolutely fantastic.
No
we have
problem.
got one more slide on the end there, which was around sort of where next for Veloviewer. You know, can you offer us some glimpse of the direction you might be taking it in?
Yeah.